Hello, people. This is Jerry, Fight Commentary Breakdowns. We got Chris on the other end. He is from Whistler Tai Chi. If you guys have seen my videos, I've gone to Whistler before. We looked at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, so maybe you could say it's fate that Chris from Whistler Tai Chi, another martial arts school in Whistler, contacted me, which means I need to go visit Whistler another time in the future.
There you go.
So, Chris, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, where's this accent from? So tell me about kind of where you grew up and how you have kind of what maybe some people would stereotype as like a Canadian accent. Like, where does that come from?
Right, yeah. So I grew up in Vancouver area and then have been up in Whistler for 15 years. And I don't know, I never really noticed I have any accent, of course, and no one really mentions it, but it may be just a combination of blending with all the Aussies up here and lots of people from Eastern Canada. So yeah, I don't really know beyond that.
Makes sense. So Eastern Canada, because it's a little bit more French influence, they kind of have like a little French twang almost to their talking, right? And then Aussies, sure. Aussies got that talk like that. So it's like a blend of the two together, plus like the Cascadia type of, neutral accent together, I guess would form this type of accent.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's
never
cool.
really thought of myself as having an accent, but again, it just kind of blends with what's in our environment, I suppose.
Yeah. The best way I would describe it is just it sounds very polite. It sounds very kind of like, oh, you're a cool person. Like, there's like the Australians sound kind of like, oh, they'd be cool to get a beer with. British people sound like they'd be cool to like be a professor, and then like Americans, just depending on the region, will sound like different things. But Canadians, the standard kind of stereotype is they just sound very polite and very nice.
Right.
Yeah. Chris, tell me about your martial arts journey. How did you get started in Vancouver, or did you get started in Vancouver? Tell me more.
Yeah, I originally started in Vancouver. One of my best friends, when I was around 20 or 21, his dad was a karate teacher, and I'd always been interested in martial arts and always wanted to do it throughout high school, but never really joined a club or pursued any training. And so we started training kind of privately under him, just me and my buddy. And our teacher, his dad moved to Calgary, and so he sent us to another club in Vancouver. So I continued training karate there for 3 or 4 years. And then through a series of injuries, I had a lot of back injuries, likely from training and just sports injuries. I started to look for a softer practice. I think karate was really hard and I was already a tense person, so I needed something softer. And that was the Steven Seagal era. So I kind of got interested a bit in Aikido. And eventually I worked with a guy who was training at a dojo in Vancouver. And so I became interested, went and checked it out. And then I kind of transitioned into Aikido, thinking that it was going to be softer. It was going to be gentler on my body, lots of falling and rolling. So good practice for sports and for just finding a new way to live in my body and avoid injuries. And then I continued training that, and then I moved to Japan for 3 years.
Wow.
I wanted to go and I wanted just a change of lifestyle and a new experience, and I was kind of looking at changing careers, figuring out what I was going to do next. I was doing architectural and structural drafting at the time.
Wow.
And so I went to Japan and worked as an English teacher and just to pursue martial arts and I studied both karate and Aikido when I was there. Just kind of whatever dojos and influences were around me, I was just wanted to just feel it out and explore different things. So I lived there for 3 years, trained, at lots of different clubs and with a couple of main teachers. And then came home from Japan after 3 years, and I had started a 4-year Chinese medicine program. I was ready for a change from Japanese martial arts and just the next level, and so I really got into Tai Chi. Tai Chi and Qigong were part of our education, part of our curriculum. So we were doing those practices every day. So I did that for the 4 years in there from 2001 to 2005, and then have continued training basically those systems for the most part since then.
Wow. So when you were in Japan for those 3 years, did you ever check out judo or any of the other systems?
I joined a kendo dojo that was in my town. The teacher that ran that school, he was like the second highest level kendo teachers in Japan.
Wow.
Or in the championships. He was a senior. He was like 70 or 80 years old. So I trained a little bit of that. I trained a little bit of Hakoryu Jiu-Jitsu. But just a very, very little bit. And then a bunch of Aikido dojos I would visit and kind of figure out if I was interested in that style. One of them was a more judo heavy system, or like the judo influence system. And then karate, and that was it. I didn't ever do any judo. I should have done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time now, looking back, because that was like, I was in Shizuoka Prefecture, which is where, the area of Mount Fuji, and there was a huge Brazilian population there.
Oh.
And I know there was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu dojo, but it was still getting started. I wasn't really familiar with it enough to pursue it. And, but now looking back, I'm like, it probably would have been an amazing opportunity to start it at that time, at that age. And I bet you there were some really good teachers there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That I know, because there's a big Japanese population in South America, but I wasn't aware that like there's a big Brazilian population in Japan too.
Yeah, Brazil and Japan had some like work visa relationship.
Oh.
I don't even know when that was, like in the 50s or earlier. And so there's a lot of second generation Japanese in Brazil and vice versa.
Wow.
In Japan.
That is fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You got back to stage, you did the Chinese medicine stuff, and then you also trained in Chinese martial arts. So when did you end up in Whistler again?
I came here full-time in 2005. I was going to school in Nelson, BC, so east of Vancouver, about 8 hours. And I would work in Whistler in the summers and then go back to school for my 2 semesters back there. So then I would come and go, and then I moved here full-time when I graduated to set up my practice here.
Ah. And then tell me about setting up your practice. I think anyone that's been to Whistler will understand why he chose Whistler. But like, we can explore that too. You chose Whistler because I assume it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Let's just put it that way. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, that was, the main thing. I'd come up here skiing and snowboarding, camping, and everything, my whole like high school years and beyond, and just always had a love of nature. I was always drawn towards the mountains and just being in nature, and it's just, there's just so much of it here. And plus I loved skiing and snowboarding, and the first time I ever tried it, tried snow sports, I was like, oh, I want to do more of this. Like, I want to get good at this. This is so fun. And the better you get, the more fun it is, kind of thing. And so I was just like, how do I live in a place like this? And at that time, as a teenager, I was like, okay, I don't know how I could do that. And even after high school, I was like, okay, well, how do you live in Whistler? You got to have a career, or you're going to end up working a service job, which is fine, but I wasn't, the cost of living here is pretty high. So I was really waiting until I had a career to actually make a move here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, and it turns out it was, I was drawn to it for all those reasons, but then, it turns out it's a pretty good town to be working in, because people are, working to stay healthy, recovering from injuries. There's no shortage of clientele here for therapists of any kind. We've got this is a world-class place for healing. People should be coming here. You got the top physios in the world, probably, people that work with World Cup teams on every level of every sport are here. So, lots of competition in terms of business, but lots of clients that need attention. Yeah,
exactly. So tell me about Whistler Tai Chi. I looked at Whistler Tai Chi, and it looks like there's besides you, there's another master, right? Tell me more about how Whistler Tai Chi works.
Yeah, so that's Master Sun, and she went to the Wushu school in China, was like chosen by the government probably as a child to enter that training system. That's the same school that Jet Li trained at. And then I don't remember how long she's been in Whistler, but so she teaches like the Wushu system, and a little bit different than traditional Tai Chi, kind of the other systems that I've studied. And so what I teach is really focusing on health and wellness now. In my early martial arts training, I was always focused on self-defense and fighting, and trained in a karate club that was really into competition and stuff. So that was the direction. And then with time, you just get more and more interested in developing athletic ability, injury prevention, and so that's what I kind of focus on now. Is with it's Tai Chi is a branch of Chinese medicine, and so we use it as like the physiotherapy, like give people tools to know their body, get stronger, get more flexible, get more grounded, and so that's what I do now. I do more one-on-one with people than big group lessons at the moment. It's difficult to get space here for, the yoga community kind of has a lot of the key times already reserved. So I've just been focusing on my acupuncture practice and then teaching people one-on-one for the most part.
Makes sense. It's great also talking to you because you seem to be very kind of you take like an approach to Tai Chi that's very like, I would say, level-headed. You're not like, Tai Chi's the best system to beat Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're like, no, it's like a physio medicine. I love the word you use. It's like a physio medicine. It's a good way to help your body probably build up good neural connections, build up cross-lateral connections, probably get the flexibility, get a lot of, muscle and joint and like things tweaked and stuff like that. So I really like what you say.
Yeah. And that's what I noticed from like my very first days of karate when I was 21. I was like, man, I just started learning about my body and I realized, I was in that place of, what do they call it? Unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah.
I always done sports and was racing dirt bikes and mountain biking, snowboarding as a teenager and just loved speed and stuff. But I was not very aware of my body. And so I learned a lot about how much connection you can get. And I thought, man, if I had a training system like this younger, I would have been a way better athlete. And so that's continued as a theme. And then when I started training Tai Chi, actually, I was really interested in Chinese medicine because I had suffered like around 10 years of chronic lower back pain. Wow. That was like, I couldn't get rid of. And I was, this is in my early 20s. It started probably around the time I started training and I was like feeling like an old man. I had to like decline, I couldn't go snowboarding sometimes because I'd be just hurting. And I knew that, something was going on. And if I went out and rode hard, I'd be like on the couch for a week trying to heal and taking painkillers. And so I was really interested in Chinese medicine as a self-healing art. And when I started, within 6 weeks of starting Tai Chi, I cured my back pain. Like It was gone, like 90% gone, like that fast. And because I learned to be a little bit more gentle and just connected, and it builds a lot of core strength as well and really subtle balance skills. Mm-hmm. And so that was like, became my obsession. Like, man, this is such a good self-development art is what I discovered. And so that's, where it's gone. And as far as martial arts ability, that it has to, these traditional arts have to change with the times to be competitive against other arts which are changing, right? So this is what's going on. And you see with Xu Xiaodong exposing people that they're not training up to the level that someone who's doing MMA is. These guys are like pro athletes. They're training all these skill sets, and people are going in thinking that they have a skill set, but it reveals that it's their training methods are just not up to par.
Yeah, exactly. Man, it's so interesting, and I am not opposed to learning some Tai Chi and stuff like that. And like you said, I'm sure it'll help my body in a way. Like I was a lot like you growing up. Like I just wasn't I never really paid attention to my body. And then what would happen is a part of me would get injured and then I'd pay attention to it.
Right.
And then it'd be like, oh shit, I'm injured. And then so that's what happened, right? And so I kind of wish, like you, I had some kind of exercise. It doesn't have to be Tai Chi. They kind of taught me to be more aware of all parts of my body. So when I did anything extreme, I'd be like, oh, okay, something doesn't feel right here. Let's not get that place injured. Let's pull back. It's so interesting. Like when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I got hit in the head, right? And like I didn't realize that something in my neck was weak. That's why like my body reacted that way. And so like it took me another year before I realized, oh, it's because my neck and my upper back are weak. That's why. Right. It's like, because, I'm the type of guy, I'm on the computer all the time. I'm, making content. So my body's just really imbalanced. And so like, I was like, oh, the physical therapist is like, dude, look at your body, man. It's like, your upper back is basically straight. Normally there's a little arc in the upper back because there's muscle. Right. Your back is basically straight. So, like, I have the reverse problem. Most people have a hunch, dude. My back is straight. But, like, I wasn't aware of this stuff because nobody taught me to, like, not just nobody taught me, but I probably didn't have some of the neural connections. You know, the somatosensory cortex probably wasn't processing a lot of the parts of my body because I just, you know, you learn your hands, you learn your feet, you know, you learn some other areas that are more sensitive, but like you don't realize you got to pay attention to the whole body and got to develop those neural connections.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to have that full awareness, and then bit by bit, you start to tune in to, those smaller problems, or, you know, nip them in the bud when they start to become an issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, you know, we've got such a huge yoga community in the world now, and people are use that as a system that they can practice daily, and they tune into their body. They see the precursor to the injury, like before it happens, or how's my body feeling today, you know. And for me, that's what Tai Chi has been. I've also practiced yoga for, you know, 25 years, probably on a pretty, not a high amount of it, but enough, you know. There's some good stretches. It's always a good system for just getting some of the muscles loosened off. But Tai Chi's done that for me, is it just give me a lot more awareness where I was completely unaware. Like you're saying, like we're just not taught that. And some people have a high level of awareness, and some people don't. And I was definitely one that didn't. And so it took me from a place of, totally unaware to, you know, now I'm much more highly aware. I'm sure I have a long ways to go still to, but it helps me to stay active. Now I'm able to snowboard and mountain bike and do martial arts and continue any activity I want. And that's my main goal now, is just how do I do this, you know, until the end of my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's amazing. And I think just like any other skill in life, some people are just born more empathetic. Some people are just born more whatever, right? Their brain processing power is better, so they will be able to like do math better. But like anything, you can improve. And I think maybe the word we're looking for is proprioception. Some people just have better proprioception than other. Proprioception basically means you're aware of like where the body is and where different parts. Like some people will just naturally can't even chew gum and walk. I had a teacher, she couldn't chew gum and walk. She was like tall. She was like 6'2", and we'd always be like, hey, her name was Miss Hall. I'd be like, Miss Hall, why didn't you join the basketball team in high school? She's like, because I can't even chew gum and walk. And so it was so interesting. We've never heard people like that, but like, you know, you can learn to get past that. You know, not everyone can do this just naturally, you know, pat their head and, you know, you learn it. Like I couldn't do that before, but now it just comes naturally. See, I could even switch it, right? But it's like, that's what it is, like with anything in life. And I think what Tai Chi, just talking to you, what I'm learning, Tai Chi is really good at is helping you develop that proprioception. You know, so is Tai Chi something you could use in combat? Probably not directly, but it can help you potentially heal better because you know what parts of your body are damaged, and it can help you just notice more about your body. So in a way, it gives you more awareness. But directly, you know, that stuff, maybe you could try to like interpret like self-defense functions to it, but I think it's better served if you're going to go in the combat sports route or self-defense route to just learn, you know, boxing or learn Krav Maga or something, and then take Tai Chi for what it is, and don't try to like do a long essay approach and try to like find the combat functions. It's I'm not saying you can't do that. It's just efficiently, because time is limited. It's not the right efficient way.
Exactly. You have to take that. You can take skill sets and little skills from different systems and apply them. It's like in MMA, we've seen, you know, in the beginning it was like, okay, jiu-jitsu was king. And then like karate, taekwondo, judo, everything, nothing else worked. And then bit by bit, people would like figure out how to like throw in their hip throw. The judo people figured out their, you know, how to put that in, how to deal with MMA level skill sets, you know, and use it. And then you get a good taekwondo guy in there who's like all of a sudden figure out a spinning back kick. Then you get someone doing a karate front kick. And like, it's not the whole system of karate. It's not kata. It's not all these other, you know, the whole big picture of that one art, but people are picking out the tools, you know, and Tai Chi is no different, is that there are skill sets in there and give you really good, like really, really good balance training. That's why I sent those videos to you, that was because some of those, that's the one thing that I've noticed, like training with my karate friends, is that it gave me more and more balance. And then I could like, you know, in Tai Chi, they say you hinder your opponent. So especially in a clinching position, that's where you can, Tai Chi is kind of meant to be a wrestling counter, is like the very first kind of method you teach or you train, is push hands and like cooperative training and like sensing people's balance and developing like a rootedness in your stance through like a super deep relaxation and kind of core focus. And I could see that I was getting stronger at using those skill sets. So that's the skill set that I see being most relevant right away. But, I had a student recently that I started teaching, and, right away, he wanted to learn Tai Chi. People want to learn the meditative, like a moving meditation. They know about Tai Chi. It seems like it might be something magical. People are interested. And I just told them straight up, like, I'll show you some of the applications for these things. But, I don't focus on that because it's more difficult. I'm like, if you want to learn to fight, like we got the Great Jiu-Jitsu Club. Marco runs that. I've done some training with him. He's awesome. We've got like amazing boxing teacher here, kickboxing, there's all these arts. I'm like, if you want to learn to fight, like you need to fight, go learn those systems. Yeah. You're going to get like in 6 months, in 2 months, you're going to get so much. Yeah. They say Tai Chi, like classically, they say you don't peer over your garden wall for 10 years. You stay inside and you train. Like it's not ever reputed to be a fast method. It wasn't intended for that. Yeah. So exactly. In today's world, we have to figure out what the skill set is.
Yeah, exactly. What the skill set is and what you want to get out of it and what you want to get out of combat sports, etc., and martial arts. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, in martial arts in today's world, like I think I heard you say it as well, and lots of martial artists say it, that once you start training, you never get in a fight again. Yeah. Like you become aware. You avoid situations. You don't need to be. People aren't training for combat unless they're going into MMA. Yeah. You don't need to have MMA level skill set to have confidence and not look like a victim or a target. Yeah. And you just become aware. So it's there's value in all these systems. Even like having trained Aikido, like again, there's skill sets in there. Like the high level teachers, if they get a hold of you, they're gonna joint lock you and lock you down, just like a high level jiu-jitsu. But is that applicable in a street fight or self defense? Depends on your skill level. Depends.
Yeah, and besides being self aware, I think the more anyone trains, the more they realize there's some legitimate people. And so more they're like, wow, I don't know anything. Like the more you train, the more you realize, I don't know anything. And so it's like, even though maybe to the person who doesn't train, you know stuff, but in your mind you see how much there's a gap between you and people who really know, and you're like, that's another X factor why I'd never get into a fight.
Right.
So what if that guy's trained?
Yeah.
So it just, so part of it is the humbleness and part of it is the self-awareness. So it's like both the humbleness and the self-awareness. Really, most people who like, don't have a chip on their shoulder, when they train martial arts, they will very, very not get into a fight or not get into a conflict ever. It's so interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's always humbling, right? You always have seniors, and training partners that are going to beat you and just, humble you again and just realize like, the further you go, the less you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like every time you explore a new system and then you start understanding the intricacies of it, and you're like, wow. Even if I train, I talked to Sakan about this yesterday. I'm like, even if I devote my whole life to boxing, I could still only be mediocre.
Right.
And it's like, so if that's only boxing, so if karate or taekwondo or kung fu, if I devote my whole life to it, I could still be mediocre. Like, how do I become, like, you really respect people who do, like, maybe you would call it, like, the MMA stuff. Like, they're literally good at, let's say, at least 2 or 3 different systems. That's how they can fight in the cage. But that's why most of them, like, have, like, brain issues by the time they're, like, 40 or 50. So it's like, it's always a trade-off. But it's, you realize it's if you're gonna really get into it, the more you get into it, the more you realize you don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
And honestly, I'll say this, man. The more you get into it, the more you realize you want to, like, explore some of, like, the claims of the traditional people. Not to say you'll believe in, like, BS, but, you realize how much you don't know. So you always keep an open mind more and more. If this guy claims that by squeezing you a certain way, you might react a certain way, why not try it? Because 2 years ago, I didn't even realize there's all this nuance to boxing or nuance to kickboxing, right? So maybe there is more nuance to kung fu than people think. Stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Chris, why don't we talk about your plan? You know, we're all in lockdown, but what is the plan afterwards for Whistler Tai Chi? Are you going to expand it? Is it going to be like Vancouver Tai Chi? There's going to be a branch in Toronto Tai Chi, and Ottawa Tai Chi. What is your thought for that?
I don't think I have no plans to branch like that. And really, it's just focusing on building it and creating a bit more of a club situation.
Mm-hmm.
We have more people to train with, and I have a lot of, I'd love all my acupuncture clients to be doing Tai Chi. So many people are doing yoga or some kind of system, but I think that it really benefits people's health enough that that's a priority for getting more people into that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really focusing on, I've been training a lot more like athlete types and giving them tips on how to use the Tai Chi skills to create like an improvement in their sport.
Mm-hmm.
From mountain bikers or surfers or skateboarders or whatever it is. It's more body awareness. It's more subtle balance skills. This relaxation is one of the key things that I think also that is a benefit of Tai Chi, that you're trying to always shed tension and really equalize it in your body. And, that's been my most important goal, probably. Like, I've been told to relax by every teacher for my whole martial arts training career. And every time I'll be like, damn, I thought I was relaxed. And then, after 25 years of training, it's still like your teacher's like, relax, Fang Song, Fang Song, the Chinese form of like, find that relaxation. And so like, I've seen that, benefit a lot of my clients that I've worked with. And so I'm going to continue, teaching that, because that's the most relevant part of the art. No one wants to learn. No one's looking to learn how to fight and study Tai Chi. People are looking for the meditation. They're looking for the health. They're looking for, how to stay young and how to stay active.
Yeah.
So that's really my focus moving forward. And hopefully, things get back to normal soon, and we can, everyone can go outside and we can play together again. And
yeah, I love it, man. And so, besides Whistler Tai Chi, do you have a YouTube channel or like an Instagram page that people can find?
Yeah, I think my Instagram is probably Whistler Tai Chi.
Mm-hmm.
And YouTube channel is also Whistler Tai Chi.
Okay.
I'm kind of trying to put everything under that.
Yeah, makes sense. Especially since it's like, it's easy to remember, but it's not going to be something that someone's going to take the name of. So it's like, it really works out perfectly. There you are, sure. Whistler Tai Chi, and I'm following you already. So guys, this is Chris's account, Whistler Tai Chi on Instagram. If you search it on YouTube, you will find it too. So, dude, Chris, this was a great conversation. Sometimes I'm just gonna say, sometimes conversations that like get to the point and like we talk, but somehow we still talked a lot of depth, man. So this, out of all the conversations I've had, this is one of my favorites. I'll just be honest. I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but it's just my opinion. Okay, other people will think other conversations are more fun, but this was one of my favorites so far.
Right on.
Yeah. So everyone, Chris, go follow him on Instagram and YouTube, and visit his website, etc. I'll definitely bring you back if people have more questions for you, whether about proprioception or balance or how you could implement some of the subtleties into your whatever sport, extreme sports, regular sports. It just, maybe if you don't do sports in your life in general, how to walk and chew gum at the same time. Maybe that's what Tai Chi will help some people do. So, guys, this was Chris. Chris, I will stop recording now. We can continue talking after this. This was Fight Commentary Breakdowns. Go follow him. Leave your comments, questions, etc. Share this with people, especially Tai Chi people. I know there's Tai Chi people help each other, so share this, man. Share this. Also, Chris, before I forget, do you teach Chen, Yang, Wu, all of that, or what's your primary style?
Chen Tai Chi is my primary.
Cool. Awesome. So I might even share this in the Chen Tai Chi community. I'm part of a few. So, all right, guys. Guys, see you later. C'est la vie.